Well, thank you for joining me, Robert. Robert Sweeney. Yeah. You contacted me, or I contacted you about doing a live stream / podcast.
Yes.
What's your concept for this show?
So I've been a therapist, a crisis worker, a mental health worker for about 40 years. I recently wrote a book called You Are Not Just a Diagnosis. And the basic idea is that people who have mental health issues want to understand the concepts that their therapists use, their psychiatrists use, and they can use the same tools that those people are trained in to sort of manage their own therapy, manage their own recovery, in conjunction with their therapists and their psychiatrists. But you have to have a common language. You have to understand what the ideas are. So that was the point of the book to begin with. And then I just combined a bunch of other things from my experience in therapy that sort of add to that tool. Ideas about creativity, about coping, about working with crises, things like that. So it kind of expanded out from that, just the basic idea of teaching phrases and terms into, managing your own recovery. I said, you know what, I'm going to write a book. So I sat here at the dining room table with the dog.
Who's that?
That's my dog, Jack.
Well, bring him on, or her.
Hey, Jack, can you come over here, buddy? We've got two dogs, Jack and Bandit, and they're arguing at the moment.
Okay, we'll bring them on as soon as you can. Put them right in your lap, and we'll give them their own camera and mic.
These are not lap dogs. These are full-size beagles and a beagle basset. They're a little big for that. So anyway, I sat here with the dogs at the table and typed up the book and then published it through Amazon. And what I've always wanted to do is teach. And so when I got the opportunity to write the book and the idea is that I'm going to teach people through the book, I was kind of hoping eventually it would go on to getting a course and teaching a course sort of on the side. And that's one of the reasons why I contacted you, is this seemed like a good way to do that.
Yeah, it's a wonderful way to be able to reach people around the world. They can purchase it here on Amazon, digital or paperback.
Right, and I always recommend the digital because it is remarkably cheaper.
Yes, and read with Kindle Unlimited to also enjoy access to over 1 million titles, $8 to buy. Okay, so it looks like it's $8 to buy it outright on digital format, or or get the membership and get it for free.
Yes.
So let me ask you, do you see this project, this live stream podcast project as a long-term project, or do you see it as a time-limited project?
Pictured in my head was it more of a limited thing, basically to explain the concepts in the book to more detail, and then carry it on if it's something that became popular. But I kind of thought, there's just some very basic stuff in the book that people like to talk about, like to hear versus read. And I just want to go through that first and see how that goes.
You watched a video online that I sent you, and you said you had some new ideas about how you'd like to present the ideas.
One of the things that I got was the idea of making different length projects, so very short projects that would go out more frequently, and then a longer one that has a more in-depth look at something specific. So, for example, the PTSD would be a half hour or whatever we do. And then in the back of my book, I have an alphabetical list of coping skills. So I had in mind that we would do each of those coping skills as a very short, 1 or 2 minute thing. And we can put that out into the social media and tie from that back into the other stuff.
When you say that, I'm thinking a 1 minute a video is something that can be put onto YouTube as a 1 minute short, onto TickTok, Instagram. And the benefit of that is that the potential of it being served up to more people more quickly is much more likely. Yes. And if there's already a community of people looking at videos like that, boy, that'd be very a great tool for teaching. I will also be working to, when you record a longer video, if I find a piece that I think can be clipped out, I can take that and throw it up as a short, something like that as well. So you don't necessarily have to record shorts, but you can record 10, 15-minute videos, and we can pick out little pieces to throw up as well. So that's another option.
Right.
And you had asked about playing TED Talks within your video. Yes. And I mentioned that there are some concerns about copyright and how that's done. That'll be an ongoing conversation. But if you're adding to the content, if you're not just playing the video straight through, but you're playing clips and you're talking over them, That's also very helpful because you could be presenting the idea while the video is playing, or playing the video in shorter clips that you're getting the main ideas through, and then sending the viewer to the link to watch the full video. So there's a lot of different options and ways to do it. And the fact is that if YouTube does flag something for copyright, it's not the end of the world. There are different options. It can mean that your video is demonetized, which means that any advertising that's put on the video goes to the owner of the copyrighted material. That's one option. And another option is clipping it out, muting it. So there's a lot of different options, and that's something we'll just have to roll with and figure out sort of as we go along. But okay. I don't want you to feel constrained. I really want you to feel free to do it how you'd like to do it, and then if a problem arises, we can address it at that point.
Okay.
Do you have any questions for me?
So what exactly, I know I have a picture in my head of what your role would be as sort of the producer, director, but what exactly do you do in a position like this?
In a position where I don't have any knowledge of the subject matter, I normally just run the software, put it on the internet, edit it when necessary, put the podcast out, and do a lot of online marketing with the social media, just try to drive some traffic to the videos. I'm looking at the objects on your piano. Are those personal objects? Have you traveled to some exotic places to collect those?
Actually, no. Those are Halloween decorations.
I thought you were a voodoo witch or something like that.
No. My partner is a great artist. She does really great, crafty, artsy things, and she loves to decorate. And so she makes these are potion bottles she made out of scrap bottles. Oh yeah, and do you remember the movie Hocus Pocus?
The name I remember.
Okay, well, one of the chief characters. Yeah. One of the chief characters was the book. So she made her own spell book with the eye. Oh my gosh. Wow. Yeah. Have you thought about your schedule? We talked about pre-recording, perhaps pre-recording. Now that's all optional. That's just optional because live streaming does take more time and effort. It sort of has to be very focused and time limited, but if you pre-record, you may have more flexibility, obviously time of day and that sort of thing. On the other hand, obviously if you're ever having a conversation with somebody, if you want to have a conversation with live viewers, then live streaming is always an option. What I'd like to do is start out with pre-recorded pieces so we can get the more, the multimedia things sort of inserted and we get a little practice at it. If we develop an audience and they're interested in talking live, then I'd like to do a live show. But we'd like to, my picture in my head, my picture is that we get a fair, decent audience and they have very specific issues they want to talk about. And then we can do that live. Like if someone wanted to talk about how to deal with flashbacks, or if they wanted to talk about specific coping skills, things like that. We did also talk about maybe doing maybe a once a month show or more often of a live show. Okay. Now that's I like that. I like that idea too, because then you're sort of hitting it from two different directions, and it doesn't take up a massive amount of your time. Would you be open to that? Sure. Sort of it's a nice way to make use of both the live streaming capability and also take that live stream recorded material and then break it up later and put it out in different ways on different platforms as well. Okay. Yeah. So think about that. Maybe you want to record weekly, an hour weekly, and then have me break up the pieces, break it up into 10-minute sections or 15-minute sections, whatever is natural for the material. Okay. Yeah, that's an option too. Yeah. So the other questions I have are about technology. So what kinds of what do I need? Do I need to set up a studio? Do I need to have a particular kind of background camera, things like that? Honestly, what you've got now is absolutely sufficient. Okay. The reason I say that is because you have a very naturalistic background. It's your home, and it's very friendly, and it's much more genuine than having a false background or something like I have, where it's just plain black. People can relate to you much more easily. All right. So you could literally record straight into the computer where you are right now. As long as you have decent sound and decent camera,
That's it. Because, the content is what matters.
Okay.
Focus on the content. Don't worry about any of the technical stuff. Once you got that working, you're fine. You can record into your phone. You can record into a portable camera and all that stuff. But then you have to transfer the files over, and that's a hassle. Now, we could improve your audio a little bit with a microphone. I sent you a couple of links about that. Either, you can get a $10 pair of earbuds with a microphone, and that works great, or size up to this type of lavalier microphone that I'm using. Okay. And I can't hear myself right now, so you'd have to tell me how it sounds.
You've been very clear.
Okay. Yeah. There are some more technical, there's not technical, but another issue about where we put the show. So, where we have been putting shows that I've been producing is onto a single channel. And I don't know if you've seen it already, but it's Hello Hooray was previously Mojo Rising. We have 4 or 5 shows going at a time. And there are some benefits to having them all on the same channel for where there are some crossover in viewership. Now, in this instance, I'm not sure there would be as much crossover because our other shows are more entertainment based. One show is a show about acting and Hollywood, hosted by a comedian, Andrew Aardvark Kelly, and his show is Aardvark Interviews, and that's a once a week show. He interviews actors, comedians, etc. And the other show is a show called Every Second with Clarine Williams. Clarine is a social rights activist in the Black community in Austin. And so it's very Austin-based and very focused in that sense. And there's not much crossover between those 2 shows, but we can talk about that more later. Is that Bandit?
That was actually Jack again. Bandit's hassling him. You'll recognize the difference. Bandit is much louder.
2 males.
2 males. One's 13 and the other's 3. And so there's a generation gap.
Okay. Any more questions? Any more thoughts, concerns?
Well, the only concern I have is there any money issues I need to be aware of?
No, that's a great question. What I always suggest is that the host, the producer of the show, create a Patreon account to seek donations for that aspect of his work or her work. On my side, because we're producing the show for free, what we do is we brand the stream, and we also put our Patreon account on the stream, and then allow the host also to seek donations or funding in other ways. And Patreon is I mentioned that because it's the best well known, and it's just the simplest thing to do. It's not necessarily the best option for seeking donations for your work. And so that gets into the topic of, well, there are other options. The other option is that, say someone comes along and says, well, I just want to have my own branding on it. And in that case, I would say to the person, well, in that case, you could pay me a fee for my production time, and all the content would be unbranded. It's somewhat of a moot point because if there's ever a time that you leave our network, which is Hello Hooray, you'll take your content with you, no questions asked, no issues. You'll take all your content with you and put it up wherever you want. Maybe you want to create a channel at that time, your own channel, and put all the content up again, and you'll have all your content to do that. And like I mentioned before, maybe the best time to do that is now. Maybe it is a better idea not to have the show on a network, a channel with 2 other shows that aren't really related and probably won't provide much crossover in terms of viewership, and choose to start building your own brand now. And now my interest, of course, on my side, my interest is in having your show on my network because I am building a channel on YouTube, attempting to build viewership and subscribers. And at some point in the future, which could be a year or 2 or more off, at some point, my channel will have 1,000 subscribers. And at that point, the channel will have the ability to begin earning ad revenue from YouTube. And so that's my interest. And it's not myself alone, actually. Anybody can partner with me in that effort. we're talking a couple of years off, really, realistically, right? So the promise of ad revenue isn't very much of a big promise. It really takes a long time, even with several shows running at the same time. We've seen it just takes a very long time to build an audience, and so my partners are Andrew Aardvark, who does his own show, Aardvark Interviews. He's a partner in the channel, and Cloran Williams is potentially another partner in building the channel, and that'll be his decision whether he wants to participate in the channel in that way. And it's just, it's a matter of time. So people may come and go, and I'll still be here trying to build the channel to 1,000 subscribers. We now at this point we have just over 100 subscribers. So we're just about a tenth of the way there. So
it's actually a good start.
Well, it's better than nothing. Yeah. And the social networks, of course, the Facebook, Instagram account, Twitter account, those all add some value, if minimal at this point.
Yeah. My interest is not so much to earn money from this.
No, I know it's not.
In a perfect world, I would drive some book sales and maybe get an offer from a university to do some lectures.
Yeah.
Mostly,
exactly.
I just didn't want to have to spend a lot of money to get my things on the internet. So if you're willing to produce it and put it out there, I'm a happy guy.
Yeah, and I believe I can add a lot of value in ways that we discussed before, in sense of helping edit the videos, adding other resources to it, and
that would be good.
Creating shorter videos and putting those out, and so I hope to be able to do that, add some value to it. But that's what I tell people. It's a way to build your brand or your presence on the internet. That's what it's really about.
Yeah, that sounds great.
But what I will say to people, prospective producers of their own content, is that you're not guaranteed to have the content put onto this channel. It may just not be a good fit. You may record some videos, and when I see them for the first time, I say, okay, this is something that needs its own channel. Either because it just really doesn't fit in well, or because there's a potential there that it could really grow more quickly with its own channel, that it'd be much stronger with its own channel. And so that may be an option too. So I just say to people, be flexible and be open to change, because things can change very quickly. And honestly, I do. I change my mind very quickly. So, but we're all just trying to do our best and trying to put out the best information and content for people to be as useful as possible. And so just, have an open mind about where we go. We may decide 6 months in that this was a bad decision and we want to go switch 360 and do something completely different. So, and it's the internet. So it's all, it's just how it is. You just adapt. You adapt. And you take advantage of new opportunities, and you that sort of thing. Well, thank you for joining me, Robert Sweeney.
Yes.
To find you, what they should do is go to Amazon and find your book.
That's exactly. Robert Sweeney, You Are Not Just a Diagnosis.
It's available in paperback for a lump of gold, or in Kindle for absolutely free. Or even just $8 to buy it.
Just $8
a digital
to
copy.
Have it, keep it, and hold it in your own machine.
Yeah. And that's the Kindle app on any computer or laptop or tablet or phone. You can open the Kindle application and read that book. You don't have to have a Kindle specifically.
Exactly.
Thank you very much, Robert. Good to meet you.
Thank you, Teddy. It was a real pleasure.
Have a good night.
Thanks, you too.